In live poker, it's not just about reading others, it's about making sure they can't read you. If you've ever worried that you might be giving something away through your eyes, your hands, your voice, or even your silence, then this video is for you. I'm Terry Wood from PokerRailbird.com, and today we're diving into something most players overlook: how to conceal poker tells and keep your game unreadable physically, verbally, and emotionally. Because while spotting tells can give you an edge, eliminating your own tells protects your stack from sharp players who are paying close attention. Let's get into it. Most poker players have no idea how much they're giving away at the table. Some of the tells we leak come from simple laziness. We assume no one's watching. We stare at our cards a little longer when we don't like what we see. We shift in our seat. We call quickly when we're weak or sigh before folding, and we do it over and over again. These kinds of tells come from mental shortcuts. We just don't bother masking our intent. But then there's another category, the emotionally driven tells, and those are even more dangerous. These are the moments when we aren't in control. We avert our eyes when bluffing. We go quiet when nervous. We sit stiffly, trying not to breathe. Or, on the flip side, we hold too much eye contact, trying too hard to look strong. And here's the key. These emotional tells are harder to control because they happen in the heat of the moment. They're tied to our internal state, anxiety, excitement, fear, or pressure. That's why concealing your tells isn't just about mechanics, it's about awareness. You can't fix what you don't notice. And if you're not in control of your physical, verbal, and emotional patterns, someone else at the table will be. Chip handling. First off, chip riffling. Some players do it all the time, whether they're in a hand or not. Others start riffling the moment they're nervous. And that's the problem. Your pattern shifts and people will notice. So here's my take. If you're going to riffle chips during a hand, that's fine, but do it consistently. Same hand, same rhythm, every hand. Personally, I don't do it because we're hardwired to stop moving or change our pace when the pressure kicks in. And that's a tell. Instead, I recommend you pick a posture during a hand and hold that position. Still, centered, neutral. Let your opponents forget you're even there. Now, when it comes to putting chips in the pot, you need to choose a method and stick to it. If you stack your chips neatly and slide them forward, great. Do that every time. Same motion, same hand, same pace. If you're the kind of player who tosses chips into the pot, fine, but do it with the same energy whether you're betting, calling, or raising. Consistency is the key. Never deviate. If you only do that motion when you're strong, players will figure it out. Let's talk about eye movement, because your eyes can transmit more information than we may think. When you're the one making a bet or you're facing pressure, people are watching you. So in those moments, I don't let my eyes say anything. I pick a spot on the table, usually near the flop or my stack, and I look right there. Not at the player, not at the pot, not at the board again. Just that one neutral point. And I stay locked on it whether I'm bluffing or betting for value. It's not about being robotic, it's about being unreadable. But now here's the other side of it. When I'm not the one doing the betting or under scrutiny, I'm watching everything. If someone else makes a bet and they're waiting for a reaction from the table, that's our time to gather information. I watch how the other players react, who's leaning, who's breathing differently, who suddenly stops their conversation, or reading their social media, who's reaching for chips or any change in their present behavior. Because here's the key. When the attention isn't on you, that's your opportunity to study the other players without them knowing it. This one's big. Once the hand starts, once those cards hit the felt, we need to lock in. Take a comfortable, neutral posture and don't move. Don't lean forward when you hit. Don't slump back when you miss. Don't shift or fidget or start stretching after a bet. For me, here's what I do. I sit straight in my chair, elbows on the table rail. My hands are in loose fists, covering my mouth from the nose down. If I bet or call, I use my right hand. I stack the chips and slide them forward. No noise, no flash. Then I go right back to that posture and stay there. Whether I'm bluffing, raising with the nuts, or folding, I look the same. That's the goal. This one sneaks up on people. Most tells, especially physical ones, are based in fear. Fear you'll get called. Fear they won't bet into you. Fear of looking stupid or losing the hand. And fear changes how we breathe. Shallow breaths, holding your breath, sharp exhales. They all happen automatically. You can't stop these things from happening, but you can become aware of them. The key is to breathe normally. Pace it. Even if you have to consciously control it, keep your rhythm steady. Don't let the size of the pot or the strength of your hand dictate your breathing. And trust me, experienced players have worked through this already. They weren't born unreadable. They practiced. They got burned by tells, just like you and me. But over time, they learned that discipline beats instinct, especially when the pressure hits. Now here's one that often gets overlooked, how you look at your whole cards. A lot of players glance quickly when they're strong, but stare longer when they don't like what they see. And in my experience, long looks at your cards indicate weakness about half the time. Here's what I recommend. Pick a time frame, 1 to 3 seconds. Look at your cards the same way, for the same amount of time, every single hand. One look. That's it. Once you put them down, try not to look again. Repeated checks draw attention, and attention is what you're trying to avoid. Here's the truth. If you've got a monster hand, you don't want people looking at you. If you're bluffing, you definitely don't want people looking at you. So really, the goal is simple. Don't give them a reason to notice you at all. Stay still. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Don't react to the board. Don't shift when your hand changes. Don't light yourself up like a Christmas tree. The best players become like furniture when the hand is in motion. Nothing to see. Nothing to pick up on. And that's what makes them dangerous. Let's shift gears and talk about your voice, because in live poker, what you say, how you say it, and when you say it can all give away information. Even experienced players leak emotion through their words. That announcements and voice tone. If you normally just toss chips in silently and then suddenly say, I raise, in a strong voice, that shift means something. Same thing if you always speak softly, but raise your voice on a bluff. Your tone and timing can act like a spotlight on your hand. The solution is consistency. If you announce your bets, announce all of them. Same volume, same pacing, no extra words, no tension in your tone. It's not about sounding tough or casual, it's about sounding the same. Over-explaining and rationalizing. Here's a classic one. A player calls and says, I know I'm behind, but I just have to see it. That kind of commentary usually means weakness. They're trying to justify the call to themselves or to you. And most of the time, that's not coming from a place of strength. Same goes for players who give long explanations before bet or fold. Strong players don't talk their way through decisions. They make them in silence and move on. False tells. One of the riskiest things you can do is try to sound weak on purpose. Saying things like, ugh, I guess I'll bet, or I probably shouldn't raise here, is a classic move people make to appear unsure when they're actually holding a monster. But here's the problem. Good players know the script. They've seen that act before, and if they suspect you're trying to bait them with a fake tell, they'll adjust fast. Reverse tells are dangerous, and most players aren't good enough actors to pull them off consistently. Your best bet is to keep your speech patterns neutral, between hand table talk. It's not just what you say during a hand that matters. It's how you talk between hands that shapes your image at the table. If you only start talking after a big win, or go completely silent when you're tilted or frustrated, that becomes a pattern too. People will remember that you got chatty right after scooping a pot, or that you shut down after a failed bluff. So keep your table talk steady. It's fine to joke, laugh, or tell stories, but don't let your emotional state dictate when and how you speak. Even that can become a tell over time. In live poker, your words carry weight. So speak with consistency. Keep your tone neutral. Avoid drama, emotion, or explanations. The less you reveal through your voice, the more pressure your opponents feel to guess. Let them wonder. The wisest choice you can make while in a hand? Don't say a single word. Nothing. No jokes, no questions, no commentary, just quiet. You'll often have players try to get a reaction out of you. They'll ask, how much do you have left? Or, you nervous over there? They're not being friendly. They're fishing for tells. If someone asks how much I have and there's something blocking my stack, I'll move it. But I don't verbally respond. I don't flinch. I don't change my posture. I don't break my breathing rhythm. I give them nothing. It's not rude, it's pragmatic. It's refusing to help them in their investigation. Let them do the work. You stay quiet. If there's one thing that separates average players from consistent winners, it's this: emotional control. Not just tilt control. Not just staying calm after a bad beat. I'm talking about the ability to keep your emotional baseline steady, no matter what happens, so your behavior doesn't give your hand away. See, emotional spikes create tension, and tension creates tells in your body, your voice, your timing, even your silence. Let me give you an example. A player who just bluffed and got called might freeze up, go silent, or slump in their chair. That's a visible emotional response, and you can bet people are watching. Or maybe someone wins a huge pot and suddenly they're animated and talkative again. That's an emotional pattern, and it becomes predictable. But the disciplined players? They're the same after a win as they are after a loss. They don't react outwardly. They don't slam chips or laugh or start telling war stories after a bluff. They stay centered. And this is something you have to train yourself on, because it doesn't come naturally. Your body wants to respond when you're under pressure. Your ego wants to say something when you just made a hero call. But here's the secret. The fewer emotional cues you give off, the harder you are to play against. When your opponents can't tell whether you're running hot or cold, they're left in the dark. That's power. So between hands, during hands, after hands, stay composed. Stay balanced. If you win a hand, stack your chips the same way you always do. If you lose a hand, keep your posture, keep your rhythm, and don't let them see a change in your breathing or body language. The goal isn't just to stay calm, it's to be unreadable because you're calm. Now, I'll say this, we're all human. It's perfectly natural to feel upset or frustrated after losing a big hand, especially if you got sucked out on. I've been there, and I've even lost my cool at the table before and regretted it. So take it from someone who's made that mistake. Don't. These days, when that happens to me, I don't say a word. I keep my composure. I fold the next hand if I have to, just to reset, and then I get up and take a break. And here's the key. I walk away the same way I would have if I had won the hand. No slamming chairs. No muttering. No pacing. Because if you storm off in frustration, you've just told the whole table you're on tilt. There are 8 players who benefit from that, and only one who pays the price, you. And I'll be honest with you, I love it when another player goes on tilt. I don't say anything, but I see it, and I adjust. Don't be the player who feeds that edge to everyone else, and on the other side of that coin, be a gracious winner. It's just as important, maybe more so. Someone just lost their chips. And if you've played long enough, you know what that feels like. Don't boast. Don't start talking about your bluff. Don't celebrate the miracle river. That kind of behavior isn't confidence, it's ego. And it's quietly despised by most of the table, whether they show it or not. The best players? They say nothing. They quietly stack their chips and move on. They know the game goes both ways. You're the hero today. Tomorrow, someone else will be. So win with class. Lose with grace. And above all, don't let anyone see you break. Let's talk about reverse tells, one of the most misunderstood ideas in live poker. Now, in theory, a reverse tell is when a player pretends to act one way to send a false signal. Maybe they act weak when they're strong, or strong when they're weak. You've seen it. The big sigh before they shove all in. The fake hesitation. The reluctant call that turns out to be the nuts. And sure, once in a while it works. But here's the truth. Most players aren't good enough actors to pull this off consistently. And when you try to act your way through a hand, you're not focused on the math, the board, or your opponent. You're focused on your own performance, and that's dangerous. Here's what a lot of players forget. Good opponents are watching for this. They know the signs. They know that loud sighs or overplayed indecision often means strength. They know when it feels rehearsed. So instead of making your game harder by layering on fake tells, just keep it clean, consistent, neutral, professional, Because the moment you try to act, you open a door you may not be able to close. And here's what I'll leave you with. If you're trying to look strong or weak, you're no longer playing poker, you're performing. And unless you're Daniel Day-Lewis, that's not a long-term strategy. The concept of concealing your tells is exactly that, concealment. If you've worked hard to build a stoic, unreadable table presence, and then suddenly shift into performance mode, trying to fake weakness or put on a show, do you not think good players will spot that immediately? You may as well hold up a sign that says, "Hey everyone, I'm acting now." And let me tell you, those are the easiest tells to catch. I see it all the time. And honestly, it's humorous. Our job at the poker table isn't to entertain. It's to make great decisions, rake in chips, and be invisible while doing it. Be cordial. Be gracious. Be focused. And above all, be unreadable. Because the moment you break character with a fake tell, you've blown your cover. You've gone from being a player to be respected to a player to be watched. Closely. Continuously. And the edge you worked so hard to protect? Gone. So build your routine. Practice your discipline. Control your body, your voice, and your emotions. And let the other guy leak information while you quietly take his chips. I'm Terry Wood from PokerRailbird.com. Thanks for watching. If this helped your game, give it a like, subscribe, and check out the full article, How to Conceal Your Tells, at PokerRailbird.com. You'll find a link in the description and pinned comment below. Until next time, stay sharp, stay focused, and stay unreadable. And we'll see you at the tables.